Got a feeling we're going to see whole lot of Caleb Durbin over at third base this year. That and more coming up next on this Monday edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Caleb Durbin, is he going to be one of those guys who's going to be over at third base? And boy, it's going to be tough to take off the field. If you listen to Murph, Vinny Capra. Vinny Capra, where does he stand in all this? Yelich looks good so far. Another dinger today. Contreras, is he going to scale back on the games this year? All that more coming up on this edition of Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, thanks for making us your first listen to every day. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. It was a baseball-like weather outside. I mean, the weather was so nice in Wisconsin today that you could have played a baseball game outside. Outside, you could have opened up Miller Park, and you could have played a game. Might have been a little cold, but it would have been okay. One of the few times you could ever say that about the month of March. Of course, in Wisconsin, it gets down to 44 anyway tomorrow on a Tuesday. But some news happening. Brewers are playing as we speak. Caleb Durbin, who the Brewers got in the Devin Williams deal. Murph, does Murph really have a bad word to say about anybody? Does he? That's part of his gimmick. That's his thing. He throws his weight behind everybody. On Caleb Durbin, he says, the guy's got equal ability at second and third base, good hands, good feet, plays well. He said he knew he would love him, and him coming in camp here in the first 2 weeks just confirmed it. We all guessed Caleb Durbin was going to be Murphy's type of guy, hard-nosed type of guy, one of those Jim Gantner type guys. And I'm not comparing Durbin by Jim Gantner, but you want one of those guys who gets the most out of his ability. Seems to be Caleb Durbin right now, although it's only hitting $172 at spring training. No homers. I believe he's got one homer. I wrote down no homers. I believe he's got a homer. 5 for 29. But he's getting lots of playing time. They are going out there and playing Caleb Durbin every day at one position or another, second or third. So he's got 29 at-bats in. He's playing like he's an everyday guy right now. We'll see. I think they're giving him a good run. And my hunch is Murphy is going to put Durbin in against left-handers and Dunn against right-handers. And I think we do that kind of going in camp, but I feel like this just confirms it right here. And Caleb Durbin, I believe, is going to a shoe-in to make the team. But that other third base spot, and what would an episode of Locked On Brewers be without talking about third base? Vinny Capra. How about a Vinny Capra update? Remember how this guy was Mr. February? Well, he had 3 home runs in the first 2 games of the season, 2 or 3 games of the season. He's got 4 right now, which is tied with the club league with Rhys Hoskins. He's 2 of 22 from the plate. He's batting .318, 9 RBIs so far. So that's your Vinny Capra update. Is Vinny Capra going to make the team? Well, 2 weeks ago, he was our starting third baseman, I would have said, because he was on fire. And that's only for a couple of days of the spring training. I mean, he's still hitting .318. But I'm going to give Vinny Capra a 50-50 shot at making this team. Okay? I'm saying it's 50-50. He's got no options left, so they lose him unless he took he took the invitation and took the Brewer offer and went down to the minor leagues, unless he's got an offer around the major league level. But Vinny Capra, 50-50 chance, in my opinion, of making the team. I think Dunn makes it. Durbin makes it as your lefty-righty. Tyler Black, some of you I see on Twitter thinking Tyler Black is an option over at third base. He's not. I don't even think he's an option to make the team. I think Tyler Black starts the year at AAA. He's 1 for 12 so far down there. And I don't always want to have to say this, but yes, it is spring training. But Tyler Black, it's a big spring training for him. He's got something to prove down there. 1 for 12 so far. I think Tyler Black, who I believe will see some time on the major league level sometime during the 162 but will not start the season on the parent roster. So that's it for the third base spot, the daily, almost daily third base update. I left it alone a couple of times last week. But Christian Yelich, another home run today. Another booming home run. Led off the game yesterday with a home run. Homered over the weekend. He was asked by the Journal-Sentinel if he believes he could play at a high level. Now, Yelich is not going to say, well, no, I think I'm just going to be an average ball player and I'm going to collect my $25 million and be mediocre. No, he believes he can play on the high level. And one of the things I think that is underrated with Yelich is his ability to run the bases as good as anybody as I've ever seen in the Brewer organization. And I'm talking like from going from first to third. And we talk about guys going from first to third. You know, you old schoolers remember Robin Yount, Paul Molitor. I don't think those were like the two greatest guys in this organization as far as great base runners, smart base runners, good base runners. Yelich is a great base runner. He is. He says, even though he's got the back surgery, he's going to be stealing bases. He's going to be running the bases. It's not going to take in anything away from what he does. And like I said, I think an underrated and maybe unappreciated part of his game is his ability to run the bases. You know, it takes him 3 steps. I always say you're going to go from second to third, if even. And he says he's going to be good in that area. As far as the Brewers being aggressive on the base paths this year in general, I look for the Brewers to be very aggressive on the base paths once again. They're right now in the spring training. Now, in spring training, I don't expect these guys to be stealing as many bases as they are. I mean, when you steal a base, there's that distinct possibility of getting hurt, getting a ball in the face or whatever. You know, you're putting your body on the line probably more than any play by stealing a base. And so far, the Brewers got 25 stolen bases this year. But I do expect the same cast of guys to be stealing a lot of bases, led by Turang. I think Turang, I said this on my bold predictions the other day. I expect him to, I think, maybe 60 stolen bases. Who knows? Maybe closer to 70, depending what his on-base percentage is. But I like Turang stealing a lot of bases this year. And the team was second in baseball in stolen bases last year. If this team is going to be successful again and compete for a division title, they got to be up there again. 1, 2, 3, something like that. But look for them to be aggressive on the base paths. They're doing it already when they don't even have to in spring training. They're being aggressive on the base paths. But I love what I hear from Yelich. Yeah, he was 1 for 8 until he hit that home run. That was his first hit of the spring so far, that home run. Then he hit another one today and coming along slowly, playing slowly. John Papadopoulos on ESPN Lacrosse asked me this today. If I thought, how many games do I think Yelich is going to DH? It was a good question. I think I told him about 40 games. I think Yelich is going to DH about 40 games this year. And maybe I'm wrong on that. I just have been around Yelich. I don't feel like he likes to, if he's going to play, he wants to play the outfield. He doesn't want to play first base. I think he wants to play the outfield. I don't believe, unless he's got a different mindset on that he really wants to DH. He doesn't want to do one of those Molitor things. And when I say Molitor, another mention of my all-time favorite Brewer, Paul Molitor. As you remember, toward the end of Molitor's career, he was an everyday designator, played some first base, but an everyday DH. When he had the 39-game hitting streak in '87, he was an everyday DH. They kept him at DH because of his injuries. Because he was injury prone. Yelich said a few weeks ago, he's not injury prone. He's going to want to play the outfield. And I'm fine with that. The Brewers have a fast outfield. I've said they've got the best defensive outfield in baseball, even with Churio out there. And Murphy joked last year that Churio couldn't even catch a fly ball in training camp. And I thought that was a little much. That's Murphy kind of probably a little tongue in cheek on that, but throw any of those 4 guys out there. And of course you have Frelick and Garrett Mitchell and Perkins when he does come back. above average, way above average defensive outfielder. So I think the Brewers are going to have the best defensive outfield in baseball. And Yelich is part of that. And I think Yelich is still going to see significant time in the outfield, but I do think maybe 40 times. Maybe I'm low. Maybe I'm too high on that number, but I'm going to guess 40 times he is going to DH this upcoming year. All right, we come back. William Contreras. And we might not see as much William Contreras, as much as we always do. Everyday William might not be everyday William this year. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Good to have you along here on a Monday. This is Chuck Freeman, your proud host of Locked On Brewers, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin. And March Madness is here. There was Arch Madness yesterday, the Missouri Valley Championship, and I hope you're all on Drake like your boy Freeman was. FanDuel giving you a chance to get in on all the action like never before. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. $200. They've upped it. $200 they put in your account when that first $5 bet wins. And you can use that $200 on anything you want. But if you want to go on that live betting is really easy. And I think FanDuel offers the easiest way to do the live betting. Really easy. Go check them out. Go sign in and go visit FanDuel.com and get into all the college hoop season. Again, these tournaments are coming up. They're starting already. They started this past weekend, but the major conferences will be starting here in the next couple of days, and that means basketball day and night, and sometimes into the early morning hours, and that's great because that gets us tuned up for March Madness. So FanDuel.com, check them out. Get on all the college hoops action all tournament long with FanDuel. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. You get our podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. We are there. We're on all the audio platforms because you guys make us the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet. And of course, we're growing YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. And as you know, you can always hit me up on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. I'm always there for you. You want to DM me? Go ahead. I will get back to you. I might not be right at that second if I don't see it, or if I'm driving or something like that, or I got my 13-year-old hanging on me. But I will get back to you as soon as I can on Locked On Brewers, on Chuck Freeman on Twitter or X. All right, so we talked about running the bases and all that. And William Contreras, who you can't take his bat out of the lineup because he's so good. He was 5th in the league in the MVP voting last year for a reason. Oh, he's catching. And then when he's not catching, he's batting second and DHing and helping this team out in any way possible. Usually when a catcher has a day off, he has the day off. And William said this down in spring training. He goes, my day off is DHing. And he was asked by the Journal Sentinel, I want to believe. He was asked, are you thinking about maybe taking a couple of days off this year? Because you're in the lineup every day. And he said, well, maybe that's a possibility. Maybe it is. Now, he played through some injuries last year. He played hurt, and he played through some injuries, and his numbers went down a little bit in the month of June. But the Brewers are so limited offensively that it's tough to give him a day off, but you have to. Adam McCalvey has always reminded me, Chuck, this is not 1983 anymore where these guys play every day and they play 162 games. And I get that. But William Contreras and Willie Adames, when he was here, kind of broke that mold, and they never wanted to come out of the lineup. I still remember the day when both of those guys were going to be given the day off on a Sunday afternoon, and they went into Pat Murphy's office and said, hey, we want to play. We want to be out there. And I love that. Contreras is one of those guys who wants to play every day. So, but he did tell the media, maybe it is good to take a couple of days off, a day off here and there. Whatever works for him. But Contreras has visions of becoming an MVP. Like I said, he was 5th in the MVP voting last year, and he's an early riser. He's getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning when the first guy is at the ballpark. I think the clubhouse don't open till 8 o'clock, but he finds his way into the clubhouse. William Contreras. Got to love guys like that, right? Got to love guys like that. Let's love them while we have them, right? William Contreras. Let's love them while we got them. So that's William Contreras. And another guy, Rhys Hoskins. Now, I went out last year and I said I thought he'd hit 35 home runs. This year, I think he's going to do it. He tattooed a ball on Sunday. And I feel like all his home runs have been tape measures. He got 4 of his 5 hits so far in spring training are home runs. He's 5 of 13, 4 homers coming into Monday's game. And I love it. Hoskins looks great. He looks fit. He's healthy. And he's another year removed from that knee surgery, from wrecking up his knee when he was in Philadelphia, and looks great. And that's going to only bode well for the Milwaukee Brewers. So I'm excited about Rhys Hoskins, my everyday first baseman. And who's going to back him up at first base? I'm going to say Mark Canha's going to back him up. I don't think Jake Bauers makes the team. I think Canha's going to be the backup first baseman. I don't want to see a lefty-righty platoon over at first base. I don't want to see that sort of thing. And I know Bauers pinch hit for Hoskins in the postseason last year. I want Rhys out there every day. Righties, lefties. If they're facing an octopus, I want Rhys Hoskins as my everyday first baseman. And Mark Canha, who's also a right-handed bat, can spell him a couple of times over at first base and put Rhys in the DH spot when Contreras is not there. But I want Rhys playing a lot. Tell me if you agree with me. You want Rhys in that everyday lineup, playing a ton, and even put him in the 4 hole. I think I had him slotted when I did the lineup a couple of weeks ago. I think I had him 6th, but I'm going to cave anywhere from 4 to 6 with Rhys Hoskins. But if he's hitting like he is so far in spring training and look at as great as he is, don't want to get too excited about those spring training numbers, but I'm okay with Rhys Hoskins hitting in the 4th spot for me. But in the heart of the order, without question. By the way, I'm still getting messages from you guys talking about Stratomatic baseball. And if I played my, it's a tabletop game. I got my Stratomatic cards last Tuesday they came in, and I put them all together and I ripped them, and they're all attached together, and you got to tear them apart. And I haven't yet to play a game. I have not had a chance to play the game, but the state basketball tournament going on here in Wisconsin, I've yet to do that. So I've been doing a lot of that, Locked On Brewers and covering the Brewers and some of my coverage of the Bucks. I just haven't had time. Haven't had time to play a game of Stratomatic. Looked at the Brewers cards. The Brewers have some impressive defense in those Stratomatic cards, but I have not played any Stratomatic so far. One guy who I hope there's going to be a Stratomatic card at the end of the season, that would mean that he is on the team, is Craig Yoho. Here are his numbers down so far in spring training. Tell me if this is worthy of him making the team. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, 10 Ks. I love him. Just watching the break on that changeup again. Craig Yoho, you look at him and you know that there's a reason why he pushed his way easily through the farm system, because he's got major league stuff. I think Craig Yoho is indeed going to make this team. I know they have an abundance of arms out there in the bullpen. And I don't know if Uribe, because he's got to serve that suspension, will he make the opening day roster, or will they wait a while for Uribe to see, maybe get into the season? Because if they put Uribe on the roster, they're going to have to play with 1 short. So I don't know if Uribe is going to make the roster for that simple reason. Of course, he's throwing great. He's throwing 100 down there, but I don't think they want to start the season going 1 short with Uribe on the roster, him having to serve that major league suspension. But I think Craig Yoho, we need to see him on the roster. Craig Yoho. I don't know at the expense of who, I don't know, but Yoho, to me, for sure, Yoho gets a spot on this roster. We come back. I'm going to give you a quick update on Woodruff, give you an update on him, and who the Brewers will not see on opening day in New York. That's coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Woodruff has thrown four sessions so far, all positive. He's met with the surgeon, and everything is positive. The news could not be better for Woodruff. Down at spring training, in every test, he has passed every test with his arm. Now, the belief is tomorrow, and no one has said definitively yet, and I haven't seen Murphy's comments, and maybe he'll talk about this after the game, but the belief is he's going to throw in a minor league game. Minor league games start on Tuesday. He's going to throw in a minor league game. Woodruff is on Tuesday. So that's the strong belief here is. And Woodruff continues to ramp himself up. And you might say he might be on a little bit faster pace than we thought. The bottom line with Woodruff is he's healthy and he doesn't feel any pain and he feels great, much like Yelich. Doesn't feel any pain, feels great. And both of those guys are working their butt off. And I can tell you with Woodruff, that is great news. Now, the concern, and it's a good one, if Woodruff is on, if he's able to pitch in May, and I don't know what the exact timetable is, they haven't put it on him just yet. Who is the odd man out in that rotation? Well, as you know, that stuff always works itself out. It always seems to work itself out. So who would Woodruff replace if he continues to be on target and be healthy and be freewheeling like he's out there through 4 sessions so far, and how well he does in Tuesdays, if that's indeed correct, Tuesday's minor league game, we will see. But great news coming out with Brandon Woodruff. The Brewers would have seen Garrett Cole on opening day. Terrible news. And the Yankees, Garrett Cole, coming down with Tommy John surgery. Man, I hate to see that with everybody, with anybody, whether they're on our team or on an opposing team. You don't like to see injuries whatsoever. Garrett Cole, Tommy John surgery, out for 2025. And he would have likely been the opening day starter for the Brewers for the Yankees when the Brewers headed to New York on the 27th of March. So Garrett Cole, best of luck to him as he recovers from Tommy John surgery. And again, that Tommy John surgery isn't what it was back in 1983 when it was a death sentence for pitchers. And I'm sure he'll put in work and be ready to go year and a half or so. But that's tough news for the New York Yankees. Tough news for the Yankees. One other note: the Brewers did announce their post-game concerts for this year. Nelly and Shaq on 2 separate occasions. Nelly will be performing this summer, and then Shaq, I believe in September, known as DJ Diesel. So Shaq, I don't know what the Shaq concert's all about, but it would be kind of cool seeing Shaq at AmFam Field because I love Shaq on the NBA Today Show or whatever it is, Inside the NBA on TNT. So Nelly and Shaq are your 2 post-game concerts. And just what I guessed. When the Brewers were saying we're going to name 2 concerts this year, my first guess were going to be Nelly and Shaq. Who wouldn't have guessed those 2? John Egan, Brewer Raptor, Twitter account. I thought this was not funny, but I guess disappointing. He 7 packs of Topps cards he bought the other day. 0 Brewers in those 7 packs. So he had 84 cards in those 7 packs and 0 Brewers. Last year or 2 years ago, I went to buy my kid a bunch of baseball packs, and they were like $2.50 a pack. And it's like, I think $2.50 or $3 a pack. I was like, since when did they go up that big? So like you buy 4 packs, it's like $16. Like, since when do baseball packs get to that higher range? God, it used to be for Easter. You get a whole box. My parents for Easter would give me a whole case of baseball cards. You know how you see those boxes on shelf? They'd give me an unopened box. They'd go down to the White Hen Pantry in my neighborhood, tell the store owner they wanted a box, and that would be my Easter present. It was a great thing. But he says, John Egan says, 7 packs, 84 cards, no Brewers. It's like when I would open up that whole big box of baseball cards, I'd get 0 Robin Yount's, but 4 Len Cicadas or Tim Johnsons. It's going to do it for Locked On Brewers, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on Locked On Brewers. Thanks for making us your first listen to every day here on Locked On Brewers. Your second listen, go to Locked On MLB. My guy Sully's got all the spring training news with Locked On MLB. Until then, this is Chuck Freeman. See you tomorrow. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.